Sorry, I got cut off by my phone there. My storage was reached on my SD card and it switched to my phone, so I'm going to get right back into where I was at. I was saying that when you have a hammer, there's two things about the metaphor for the hammer. Number one is when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's obvious, but if you don't get it, I mean, no offense, it's like when your only tool is what you know, your only line of thinking, then everything is looks according to our own perspective. And if we only know one way to fix things, we'll look for a million other. We're not going to look for other people's aspects. We'll hear a lot of other inputs, but we want to do it our way. And the other thing about a hammer is just like a tool, as I was saying as a metaphor. A hammer can be used to build a home. It can be used to pound nails, pull nails, do many different things. It can also be used to bash someone's skull in, for lack of a more subtle or nuanced, metaphor here. A hammer has dual uses. A saw can cut down a tree, or it can cut down a person. It can cut down a tree for no reason, or it can cut down a tree to build a cabin to stay dried and not die in the winter. There are so many different factors that go into whether something is good or bad. So when people start labeling each other as evil, as good or bad, as evil people, when a person's never done anything that's actually considered evil by anyone's real standards, it only leads us to wonder, is our society in full decline, or are there just a few people out there who want to make things just so dramatic? These are like, there's not just drama queens out there, there's drama kings. There are some extreme conspiracy theorists who want to make everything seem like the whole world's falling apart. There's going to be an October surprise, and wouldn't be surprised this year, of course, at all. But I've been following a variety of different alternative viewpoints since the late 90s, let's say, when the internet was young, and most of these, supposed claims or prophecies turned out to be complete nonsense, as I expected, but, you still wonder what's really coming around the corner. And when I was in my teen to early 20s, especially around the time I was 21, 22, I was really reading a lot of crazy conspiracies about our government. I learned about MK Ultra. I learned about the mind control experiments, basically the experiments with LSD, testing on soldiers, on black populations, on cities, all different types of things that they did with different drugs, different nerve agents. And the fact that to this day our government is basically in full denial that our citizens are guinea pigs for many things, including nuclear fallout, just like other countries were. Many islands that were uninhabitable afterwards. But to get to the point here, yeah, our government lies, of course. There's all kinds of shit out there like that. But what do you expect from people who have power? It's I want to get back to the main point because, I could talk about all of the things that I found that were wrong when I was younger all day long, and until I'm blue in the face, it wouldn't do a goddamn thing to address it. I went through a phase where I really processed all these different things and said, what is worth it? What is true? A lot of it turned out to be bunk. And I still have no evidence that the U.S. government is working directly with aliens, for example. Hey, who knows? Anything's possible. I still don't believe that NASA is a giant cover-up for a flat Earth. I don't believe in many of these larger ideas, but it doesn't mean it matters that much to me. And that's the point I wanted to get to. I learned that defending your viewpoint is only valuable when it's something that actually fucking matters. And look, if the shape of the Earth matters that much to you, you can go ahead and travel to all the meetings you want. It's your life. You do whatever you choose. If you want to, be angry with, if the rainforest is your thing, not as a good or bad. These aren't like, I'm not making assumptions about them. If you want to protect the rainforest and you want to travel down there and defend it, or if you want to go feed people who are starving, all these things, we choose what our values are and what we think is important. I'm not one to sit and judge whether feeding starving children or going to a flat earth convention are more valuable to society. I and I don't say that sarcastically. Each individual chooses what they want to do with their time and their life. When we start beating each other up about things, it can be detrimental, but it's only dangerous. I should say, for me, the only time that I try to harass or beat up or you know, say negative things about other viewpoints, and I only do it only when I think that it's harmful to society in some way. And usually, as much as this sounds corny, when I make fun of someone else, it's because I'm trying to protect a group that doesn't know any better. And it's like when I pick on somebody who makes this, when I posted something the other day about this $8,000 mag light, flashlight basically, that's been retrofitted with crystals, and they claim that it heals you through some energy force. This guy, his name is, I can't even remember his name right now. Thank God, it just never, sticks in my head. But this guy's been around for years, and he sells $1,000 fake ass crystal things that claim to heal you. There's another guy, Tom Palladino, who makes ones. Talks about these scalar energy where you send him a photograph and he heals you remotely, right? And assembles all these nutrients in your body, and they cure herpes and cancer and all these other things. And I call these people out not because I want to poke fun at them. I call them out because people have sent me personal messages after I made a video saying, yeah, this guy wrapped me up. I really was at a hard time in my life. I had nothing else going for me, and I thought this would heal me and make me feel better. They promised me, they sent me an email explaining how it worked, and all these supposed, people had written these, testimonials, which of course you can always see are total bullshit. When you ask for evidence, science, they refer you to their website, which has nothing of the sort. So, I hate charlatans. I hate snake oil salesmen. It's something I have to call out. Because other people are harmed. And this is the exact same fucking reason why I have to call out shitty politicians. And I have no problem. I'm not left or right in that way, where I have no problem calling out Obama's bullshit or fucking Biden's bullshit or any president through history, because we all have our issues, good and bad. But, in the current atmosphere, you can't say anything bad about Trump without somebody getting personally offended. It's a fascinating look at people getting triggered by just mentioning the name in any potential negative light whatsoever. And it's not just that, it's within all aspects of society right now. And I think that it's because people are trying to hang on the same way that Christianity, for example, there was especially over the last 5-10 years, has said it's under attack. Christianity has said that it's under attack by the secularists and the leftists and the, atheist groups. From what I've seen, the atheist groups are very small and don't have much power online. I've seen the debates with atheists. I've seen priests debating atheists, and it's fascinating, Many great discussions can come out of that, but usually it's a one-sided thing. I believe in God. Okay, prove to me it's true. Well, I have faith. Okay, this goes nowhere. I've seen hours-long debates that really said nothing, right? So I've come to the conclusion that for some people, Christianity, faith is great, and it works for them, and for others it's not. The problem is not with what you believe. It's with when you start judging others. The number one, what Jesus himself supposedly said, judge not lest ye be judged yourself. And I've had plenty of people say, well, you should at least read Revelation. And I'm like, I read Revelation when I was 16 years old. I have several copies of the Bible, and I've read a variety of passages. I've got the book of Mark in a long, extended, a commentary. Then I've got a huge Bible commentary. I'm fascinated with history and with knowledge, but not by the division or I should say, I am fascinated with the division, but it's not something that I really am endeared to. It's disgusting to me how much people will fight about what they believe. Politics are a lot like religion in the sense that as I was growing up, I was always told two things you don't talk about in the workplace: politics and religion. And it's a fact, you don't. But now there's new ones. Science. Oh, you believe in science? Oh man, scientists are all trying to lie to you, and it's all a big, it's all a big hoax. And basically they're just working for this person or that person. And then you're like, well, A lot of them are, that's true. But a lot of scientists are amateurs and they just want to do the right thing, right? Just like when people say that all astronomers in NASA are hiding the flat Earth, and I say, but I'm an amateur astronomer. I have a telescope. I understand curvature. I've seen eclipses. Doesn't make sense to me, but I guess I don't know shit because I'm just a mindless sheeple. And so back to the point here about Christianity feeling like it's under attack. They say that they're under attack. Really, I think what that means, and I could be wrong here, is that in a modern society, any disagreement with the church is viewed as a threat. Because, for some people, they say, hey, if you want to celebrate Christmas, go ahead. We don't want to, and I will admit that a lot of people that are extremely secularist do go overboard by saying we don't want any Christmas decorations or anything having to do with Jesus and the nativity, and people Christians really get upset about that. Now, that is kind of a trolling thing, but what it is it's a fuck you back to people who have tried to oppress secularists for so long. Like, if you don't believe in God, you can't marry my daughter. If you believe in a different God. Christianity and all religions have been so oppressive for so long that now people are backlashing against it even more as kind of a, haha, well, screw you. People are waking up to their own religions. But listen, let me say, this is happening with politics too. People are starting to feel like they can just flip each other off and say, screw you, you're wrong. Instead of, in other words, two religions can live in unison in a society, just like two viewpoints can live in unison when it comes to politics. If you take your politics like you take religion and you believe it with faith, without using reason, rationality, and common sense, as well as research, then our society is going to fall apart. And I really mean this. If we start to take politics as faith without doing our critical research, if you look at what the founding fathers of this country talked about, they said that they despised the idea of just a two-party system. It was actually a fear of the founding fathers. So a lot of people want to take the founding fathers as these great heroes, but they don't want to really listen to all the details of what they said. And one was that once it descends into us versus them, then everything's going to collapse. And they also, worried against tyranny. They also worried against a central bank. And, what's happening right now with our country with printing currency, fiat money, the fact that inflation is rising higher than ever, people are getting angry and they're misdirected. They're misdirecting that hostility onto each other. Every time I say misdirected hostility, I think of a song by 311 called Misdirected Hostility. It just... I cannot say that without thinking of it. But it's a fact of where we're at right now. That it's kind of like deflecting. A lot of people are deflecting. If you try to point the finger at them, they just say, no, it's this guy over here. No, it's like a ricochet, And it's very unfortunate. And it's scary. And that's why I talk about this lately, I'd rather talk about rainbows and unicorns and show you my sewing projects and stuff and kratom and talk about herbs. But I feel like at a time right now, it's very crucial. It's September. Ew, I don't like Pilsners very much. It's September 24th, 2020. In under 2 months, it's going to, like a month and a half, it's going to be election time in the U.S. It's going to be chaotic. Our president has already said that he basically, if there's mail-in voting, he won't accept the results if there's any delay. This is something that America, the United States of America, this democratic / socialist country, we have programs like school, obviously, and fire departments and police departments. That's a form of socialism. But that aside, we're facing some serious shit right now. We've got to beyond politics, and we've got a president who says that he basically will not peacefully probably leave office if there's any question of him winning on election night. And many people are willing to accept this as being okay. And there are already people who have already dug in and said, well, I agree with him. And yeah, if he loses, the Democrats have thrown the election, is what he's basically said. To me, that is tyranny. It's a form of oppression. It's a form of misdirection, a form of propaganda. And it is the most un-American thing that I've ever heard. I've, for I don't know, what was 100 years or something, no presidents ever even questioned the integrity of our electorate unless they lost, right? Then it's all of a sudden recounts and recounts and recounts. We're living in pretty dark times. But here's my thing. It's not just about Trump. It's about, regardless if he loses or wins, we're still facing the same shit. I'm not a Joe Biden fan at all. Believe me. And here's the thing. Most of us aren't. Many of the Democrats out there and many of the moderates and people who are independents, they just cringe at the idea of just more of the old man Biden kind of thing. We want something different. Sure, I like some of the other candidates that didn't have a chance. I like the idea of UBI, and I like the idea of trying to redistribute some of what the corporate America has swindled. In the last 4 years, the only thing that's happened is the corporate tax rate dropped from 35% to 21%, while the average worker stayed the same, and we lost some of our earned income credits. So the average worker, if you don't own a business or a corporation, you're pretty much getting screwed. And hey, what do? We make our choice, because every 4 years it's the same shit. And I'm not going to say that there's any miracle or magic, path, but if we can't talk about these things, and if we're not willing to accept our democratic, whoever, when Trump first won, a lot of people said, well, hey, he won, get over it. Democrats won't let go, dude. He won. That's our system. But when Obama won, people were totally arguing the point. If Trump does lose, then people will be saying the same thing. Oh, our democratic system is rigged. It's all fraud. The Democratic hoax media and the Demo-rats and the demon rats are all the little pet names people have for each other now. I just facepalm, boom. Don't even know what to say. I really don't. But I'm doing my best to say it, because I think of myself as at least a somewhat rational voice, because I've seen so many cringy discussions from the left and the right where people who are extremely liberal are just complaining about everything. And I'm like, you are giving everyone a bad name by being what you might call a snowflake, I guess. We're realizing new things. We're growing up as a society, okay? It's not our fault. All of us are learning together. We never knew what it would be like if a person came out and started complaining about other people treating them badly. Now we know that society doesn't, for a while, would tolerate that if it was a true abuse. But now they're saying, you're just a snowflake. You're entitled. Why are you being so triggered? There's a direct reaction to things that happen in society by society. We don't need a government to tell us what's right and wrong. We don't need a book or a Bible to tell us what's right and wrong. It's built into us, who we are. And I'm not saying we don't need any of these things. We need politics. We need God. We need police even. I've had this discussion with people who said we want to abolish police. And I said, well, you want to replace it with community. What do you do when there's a robbery? Oh, well, what if your house was robbed or there was a shooting at your house or your neighbor's house? What do you do? Are you going to go over and risk your life to see what happened? These are complicated issues that we face. And if we can't talk about them together, we're screwed. Just like at the beginning of this whole thing in Portland, I said, hey, I support the protests, and I still did up until the point where now it just become a nightly, Molotov cocktails and explosives and people screaming at one another. I don't see anything getting accomplished here at all, except for calling in more police, because that's what's happening, and it's the world that we live in. Yeah, I live near Portland. That's how it is, right? It's a crooked system. The justice system is broken, and we need to fix it, but we need to figure out, in the meantime, how to handle ourselves over the next few months, because I get the feeling this is going to be a tough winter. I might be wrong. Coronavirus might be nothing. It might end up just being some, some fluke. And God, I hope, let me just put it this way. I hope that it turns out that COVID is not dangerous at all, that it was just a hoax to get people to stay in their homes so they could get us fooled into being sheep and wearing masks and being idiots. And I'll happily look back, slap myself and say, haha, you bought into it. But if not, I don't want half my country to fucking be worried about dying because the other half doesn't give a shit about their health. Arguing about masks or, fighting about stupid things. Look, I hate wearing masks and I don't wear them outside. I don't think they should have to be worn outside personally. And I don't agree with people getting arrested or harassed for it. It's like, it's something we should just do willingly, but it's one small part of a bigger problem we have, which is that we have a virus and a lot of connections in the world, and there's no way to stop this now. So I'd like to see us at least do the best we can, which means a little bit of cooperation and understanding with one another. Instead of just, God, calling each other fucking names all the time, I'm an American too, okay? I'm a fucking patriot. I don't want to see my countrymen harmed, but I also don't want to follow some stupid government rules. So where do we draw the line and find a happy medium? So this is the second half of a video. Turned out to be pretty long, so I hope I got a few points covered. And as I said in the first beginning of the first video, this is off the top of my head, and these things come out of my heart, out of my mind, and I'm not quite sure exactly what the path is out of this shit. And I definitely don't have all the answers. But I do know, historically, cooperation was the only route to success for any society, at least any civil society. It's either that or full domination and oppression of the people. And that's what we're leaning towards, authoritarianism. And if people are willing to buy into it, then that's America's choice. Talk to y'all later. Be well. And take care of each other, as I always say. I just can't say that enough, to take care of your neighbors and your friends. And it's hard because sometimes we just get frustrated. I've got neighbors with Trump flags, and, I've seen people with these, shoot liberal stickers. And it's just like, oh, man, I don't know what to say anymore. It's like, maybe we are headed for a civil war. As I've said, I don't think America would do it. I still don't, but there are enough people who, I guess it would be a spectator sport, open up the arenas, right? Let people fight it out. I don't know. It's ridiculous. It really is. As a civilized human being in my own mind, I just find it absurd. What is worth fighting for, right? Talk to y'all later. Thanks for listening, and talk to you next time, my friends.